I touched on it earlier, but I just wanted to give a quick overview of what iCentral is. And first of all, I'm Scott Coleman, and I've been helping out to help Peter Cooper to start iCentral. It's a new co-working space located on 234 Sussex Street, and really the space is designed. It's really run by entrepreneurs, for entrepreneurs. We haven't officially launched yet. We have about 30 people who have started up, including for the charter members. And essentially, the space will be, it's designed so that entrepreneurs can iterate on their ideas and do so for a longer time, so they can save money don't have to burn money on rent. They can spend more time to explore, and the real intention is not about the space itself. It's really about providing a place where people. It's not just about the space. It's really about the community. So we're really putting a lot of time into curating the community to get a good mixture of developers, designers, and business people. We really have a design and tech focus. The prices are $197 per month for a casual member. It's for 3 days a week, and it's $297 for a permanent desk. And a lot of people have been bringing in their screens, and they can choose the desk where they'd like to sit. And the startup I'm working on is related to psychology and using sensors for feedback to replace the need for a lot of the assessments that are currently used in psychology to detect state changes and so forth. And just happens that across the table from me was another guy working on a startup in solar, but his PhD happened to be in biomedical engineering, and his PhD was working with sensors to do with pacemakers. So it worked out to be a great, we had a great conversation, and we ended up, he was able to help me with the design. Well, he's going to help me with some of the design parts of the device for reading the sensors, and I'm going to help him out with some of the analytics part for his dashboard and portal. So that's the sort of collaboration that we really want to encourage. At the moment, we have a few startups who have moved in, including there's another one of the startups that one of the founders is for his part-time project. He's working on a hand which is used in rehabilitation, so it can actually move the joint independently to enhance rehabilitation after neurological injury or stroke, which is something that I'm also very passionate about. We also have a bunch of sports startups, including a tennis booking app and an app for to augment coaching in golf. And we have, so we're just getting started. There's also an anti-money laundering startup, so in the fintech space. So we're really excited about what the future holds, and we really want to encourage that community to support each other on this journey to bring their ideas to reality. So the kind of businesses that we really are looking for are tech-focused businesses that have a global ambition, who want to scale their businesses globally. And, so Friday, 3 p.m., we have a open date, which is open office. And so if anyone's interested, just come and chat to me afterwards, and or meet me on Friday at 3 p.m. and I can show you around the office and take a look. Just wanted to see, are there any questions? Anything else?
Yeah, just a quick one. Do you have a meeting space there for anyone that needs to come in and like, because you're saying that there's a lot of businesses that are wanting to go globally and stuff. Like if you want to have a Vimeo call or bring someone else in and have a chat whilst someone else is working right next to you, and you want to take them privately somewhere. Is there a little area there that you can take them, or?
We have 6 meeting areas,
Yeah.
and there's also a large outdoor terrace. So some people, so currently the meeting areas, they're not closed in. They've got partitions. They've got cabinets which are closing those areas off, and we have tables with 6 chairs around them. If you need privacy, there's an outdoor area where you can have private discussions. The plan is to have to close off some areas to have more meeting space indoors. At the moment, there's just so much space that if you want to have a meeting, you can go down into the corner, and it's far enough from everyone that you're not going to be overheard.
Yeah, but just is there like a nice, comfortable kind of room? Say if you have a client needs to come in and talk to you face to face, you wouldn't exactly want to talk to them in a dark corner of the.
Like a separate office.
Yeah, exactly. Just one that you can call
Okay.
like for a certain time or something like that.
Yeah, the plan is to have meeting rooms, very nice meeting rooms that you could bring clients into, and you could book them via an app. We're actually going to work on that. At the moment, it's still early days, and we're still to create those some of those areas. But that is certainly the plan. We just in the last few weeks, we just got the internet connected. We've got the air conditioning connected. We're looking at the kitchenette, like that's going to be built soon. We've got a makeshift bar, and some high tables. So we're moving. We're kind of moving that way. Like it's being treated like a startup in itself. That we kind of as a lot of the furniture is being donated, so we're doing things in stages.
Yeah, sure. So as your startup space grows, do the prices grow with it, or are they going to stay at this $197 per month?
Okay. So the question is that will the prices stay as they are? These prices, the $197, $297s, are charter member prices, and they're about half price. I can't say that they're going to stay the same, but for the charter members, they'll certainly be bit lower. It's so over time, like when all the charter members are sold, or whenever all the charter members move in, then maybe the prices will probably go up, for new members. So that was the main question, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was just saying, as more features arise, like will the price sort of scale up?
Oh, right.
As well,
So it's a non-profit co-working space. The purpose is to keep the cost low, and we're relying on the reason we're getting this nice furniture, but we're using donated furniture. That's to keep the costs right down. It's not to make profit. It will always be pitched or like at a level that startups can afford. We want to really encourage people to be able to explore their idea without the cost, or without burning too much money on rent. That's the idea. So you want to, and also the space will be run by the entrepreneur, so we won't have overheads. I think over time, if say there's a really nice terrace that we want to be able to really make that really nice. So like when you have events there, like a really nice area outdoors, maybe some lounges and podiums that people can have meetings or bring clients up there and entertain their clients. So that's certainly something that we want to do, and we want to make it the nicest space without blowing up the budget.
Yeah, sure.
There's also potential, like as we run more events, some of those events will be sponsored, and there's potential for you know, like over time, like I think it will continually improve things. But it's I mean, as it is now, I think it's really it's a great space. I mean, we have air conditioning, we have fast internet, we have a great bunch of people, and that really is the main point. If you want to entertain, right across the road is Darling Park, and if you want to really impress, like if you want to meet your clients in a really nice meeting place, you can. It's just literally 2 minutes walk, and there's beautiful gardens there. And
for startups, though, I would imagine that hiring a place like this would be to avoid meeting clients at a cafe or something. You can actually bring them to some sort of temporary shop front, so to speak. So that's
well, there are like that's really important. It's maybe not. I mean, clients and also customer development, because that's one of the things we really encourage people to go out of the building and talk to clients and get on the street, and then you want to have somewhere where you can interview whether they're customers or clients, and it isn't like the startups are already there. They're bringing their clients up, and then they've got like suits, and they're right in amongst. It's right in the CBD, so there's all these. But that's kind of the. Well, it's obvious when you come up. This is a startup, and I don't know. I think that that's part of the attraction of it. But we're going to have some really nice places as well. Like there's no carpet. It's all concrete. We're going to have AstroTurf with these islands where people can high benches where to encourage people to come up, and like if they're working or sitting there having lunch or something, they kind of stand-up desks where they encourage people to come and stand next to them and start a conversation. So I'd like to show some photos I can show you.
Virtual tour.
Yeah, virtual tour.
Sounds fancy.
Yeah, so this is some photos. Like the actual building is really nice, and you can see there that's the outdoor area. I should get some more photos here. So you can see here that's the outdoor area, and then right around the corner there's a terrace. That's the foyer, where there's 4 lifts, and it's a secure floor, so all the members get access passes. Actually, this is. That's the building. Yeah, this is actually the building there, and these are some of the early. Well, anyway, it's probably best to if you want in your own time. There's more photos online, and I can send you some more. Some of the when I say we have donated furniture, the furniture is actually really nice. Like some of them, we got designed. We happened to get we tagged all the designer chairs. They're really nice. we have like, we're trying to then match them with the, we've got some nice table. And there's some places where it's, well, it's kind of, it's raw, but it's really quite nice. And the startups there have been bringing clients up, and they're kind of excited about things that's kind of minimalist, but like everything you need in order to make it happen.
There's a lot of companies that sort of outgrow their offices in Sydney. Like we had this when we left Clarence Street and to come here, and this was fully decked out with furniture, so we had to give all of our furniture away, and it was all really sort of expensive, like you're saying, $300 chairs and big wood grain tables and stuff like that. So perfect opportunity for you guys to pick up cheap furniture from other businesses that are just scaling up. So it could be really nice furniture.
Yeah, and we're also in talks with some designers to have some nice plants up indoors and potentially redo the terrace outside, so there'd be like indoor, like a garden wall inside, things like that, to make it really trendy.
Yeah.
And,
Edible garden, for failing entrepreneurs.
exactly, like keep them fed. So we can, exactly, it'd be nice to have, we were talking about that actually, like potentially having some vegetables and fruit outside on the balcony. It's kind of the outside our budget, but that's maybe we organize a hackathon for gardening. We can all build something out there. Yeah. So anything else, you're welcome to come by on Friday or some other time. Get in contact with me or Peter.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
See what happens when I HDMI cable app.
So guys, feel free to grab another drink while we're getting up and running.
There's even a camera.
Because I've always heard like the hello world.
Okay.
Yeah, always but never actually made it huge time on the screen. So, yeah, I've always thought about like this. Doesn't work. Background is.
Well,
It's really like it's designed to really.
yes. Development actually.
Yeah. Just as a general purpose, like we're doing this.
Yes, yeah, well, it's basically it's right thing for this go that's part of it. So that one's
Change the assault.
it's almost
Still miles ahead.
yeah, I last go we
Especially when you're doing applications where response time and
Yeah.
I always I grew up with PHP. I don't know. I don't know why you call that the language that you first start off with. So I went out into the world, did my PHP stuff, right when Node.js was really
Okay.
I hate PHP. I had no idea why. I just didn't know. I'm not experienced. You know the languages.
Oh,
Yeah. So would you recommend delving into high level languages? Yeah, like there's way more oriented.
Well, I mean, C++.
That's what I said.
Can we get, is it in a service somewhere that we can load up
Right away, we're not on this. Give us like your internal lab.
There's basically a concept.
Well, depends if we can use the other, it depends. No, not the VPN here, the public Wi-Fi here. So I'm not sure if we turned off isolation or turn it on. Isolation's on, you won't be able to get any more. And something, oh, you can go into the smart box, turn it on.
All less dependencies.
Yeah, well,
Oh, yeah.
well, you gotta enough to do it, you probably dive into a case or
No DLLs.
No, you don't need any cross.
Yeah.
One
on a personal level.
That would be really handy.
Yes, well, that's apparently a huge number of startups.
So the program is actually designed to help get that.
The famous one is Docker.
20 years of large association.
So there was deals.
There's gonna be a lot of beats of the,
Yeah, no.
So they're incentive is to get them off as soon as possible. That's why we start with this.
yeah, maybe we should, $5. People feel compelled. $5.
Oh, you're up. There we go.
Booting it up again, did it?
Quite retarded monitors out there that
Do you need sound?
Taking it.
Does anyone need a top up before we get started?
Is that the same one left over from last time? Same one left over from last time.
No, it's me. It's working. It's interesting to say about furniture because we had that.
I've done it
That we had to get rid of all of that furniture and
Yeah, it's just a shame sometimes.
yeah, because we our furniture is expensive,
Yeah.
so we access it to
Minimum.
Yeah.
sell it. We try and sell it.
Can't really store it. What are you
Yeah.
gonna do with it?
Yeah.
very easy to find.
Yeah, it's just your suburb is something new. 600 people, I know what for.
Yeah.
But I know, like you say, at work And actually, it's going back to have all these chairs which you can which are ergonomically you can adjust them so many
I'm
ways.
surprised, I didn't think I could believe to myself.
Because even if you buy a plain chair for at home, it's what, it's almost what we call it here at home, and then you don't even have all those.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I was here.
Yeah.
That's a
If you're working with plants,
They spend business
they came with the building around water, but apparently they give off a huge amount of oxygen and then you will pay. So if you're looking for plants for your office, I have no idea what they are, but yeah, they're a bit of a barrier.
Separated, so you can still see
Yeah,
through them.
Yeah.
So I was hesitant to get back to it, but then my parents would get the property, which was really the property that was But yeah, then I go back to the
Yeah, see, Andrew is really sort of environmental stuff, so he went around and we moved in and got rid of all the fluoros and put in other lights that are better for the environment with electricity, with less electricity. And they're all controlled with a switch, so we can turn them on and off when we want, and they're just on the sensors, so there's no one in the room to turn on, except for that 7 o'clock shop, so they all turn off and back on again, which is what they do.
All right, everyone. Sorry about the issues with our display and everything. Unfortunately, I've got it on some crapula slow resolution here that's just not picking up anything properly. So you're going to look for something incredibly grainy here around Plone and ECM. So I'm a little bit new to Port 80 and sort of the kind of demographic of people that come along here. I myself am an application developer, enterprise architect, got a lot of experience in infrastructure, and so Plone as well as being an enterprise system. It's been around for a very long time, but isn't actually that popular here in Australia. So this is going to be a rather irreverent sort of discussion about Plone and enterprise, what an enterprise content management system is compared to logging applications and CMSs and all of those kinds of things. Now again, this is going to be very much driven by the audience. So Plone is a vast ecosystem of all kinds of things, and I can show you absolutely any aspect that fascinates you, whether that's back-end infrastructure, you know, JavaScripty things, or application development, Python programming. Plone is a big Python app. I can show you vast amounts of DevOps around setting up these kinds of environments. Apache-style environments in general, monitoring and all of that kind of thing around all of these things as well. So the idea is that I'm going to kick off some things there, and then look for some input from the audience, exactly what things interest you, and I'll show you a Plone-style solution to the kind of issue or thing that interests you. And again, this is going to be very, very hands-on. So we'll actually I had to restart my machine. I had a whole lot of backgrounds and all sorts of things running for days, so I'm going to have to bear with me while I kick some of this stuff off again. Save some of the commands in my history, unfortunately. So just out of interest, what sort of audience have I got here? How many people do application development? And what languages? PHP?
Java.
No. Java? Ruby? Python? Any Pythonistas in the room? One? Okay.
No. I like Perl.
You like Perl? Done Perl.
That's
How
what
many
they
people
say.
do web development, CSS, JavaScript, that kind of stuff? Anybody do large scale infrastructure, clustered cloud style web environments?
Anchor does, but not me.
Cluster, yeah.
Anybody do DevOps, Stackers, OpenStack? I know
Again,
Jess
Anchor, but not
does.
me. Yeah, I just saw a flash before.
Yeah, I'm just like, look at that. Anyway, it's a high efficacy project. There goes what. Take my umbrella.
I think we have a combination of both. A lot of people are doing DevOps now, it seems to be. A combination of the two.
Okay, so we're going to start off the Plone demonstration with a hands-on demo. Jeez, look at this. Yeah, all the action's happening where you can't see it on the other side of the screen. God, I love that. So there's a whole lot of really cool stuff going on here that you can't see because it's way down over there. Great.
Maybe you can just move.
So what is or was going on here is that we've got Robot Framework, which is a really awesome application suite donated to the open source community by Nokia Siemens about 4 or 5 years ago. And they've got really cool plugins for all kinds of things. So what we're seeing here, or you're not, is the Selenium plugins running up Firefox and going through and adding Plone content and doing loads of cool stuff, tearing it down, checking login A works, this and that, running through an entire test suite. Because we're doing test-driven talks here, not just test-driven development, but genuine test-driven talks. Unfortunately, you can't see it all. So we'll just go back to a standard Plone. So this is Plone out of the box. What you get is a Plone ECM environment. Again, I'm not quite sure what it's like now, but certainly back in the day, Plone was very well regarded for its UI and that kind of thing. So this is kind of the latest Plone UI that we have here out of Plone 4. And this is vanilla out of the box. One of the cool things about Plone is the way that you can do theming and all kinds of things around style sheets and those kinds of things. I had to dramatically shut down my laptop to get access to the PowerPoint, to the projector, and so there's a whole lot of stuff that was set up. It's just not happening right at the moment. So this here is my corporate website. So this is actually running the same Plone underlying that you're seeing running here on this particular tab. Yeah. And that's again all just manipulation of style sheets and whatever from the underlying Plone asset running underneath it. when it comes to actually getting Plone, Plone is a rather complicated application suite. It's all written in Python, and there's about 1,000 Python modules required to get it. I refreshed all of these earlier. If I could get back to reboot the machine.
Never reboot. That's what you learn.
That's right. Well, I didn't do it out of choice. Again, talking about themes, I need to say stuff out of Firefox. So this one here is the Bootstrap theme for Plone. So this is all responsive themes and the same kind of Bootstrap thing that you'll see out of most of those programs and projects. Within that, we've got something called Diazio. And what Diazio is, it's quite popular in some other Python-based web frameworks, is that it's an injection system for XPath. So you can take a set of CSS and styles and web forms, and in front of that you've actually got an XML parser that's going to change or inject any tag or tab to do different styles. So for example, you can change IDs and classes and things like that within the framework. So you've got a known Plone, and then you can just completely freak it all out with Diazio and all kinds of cool things in front of it. So that's all how this is actually running here, the way that this Diazio theme was created as a bootstrap. And so it's pretty easy with some other Plone theming tools to take those and inject things and play around with them or whatever. But again, the point of this particular theme is that in the web community, everyone's quite fundamentally attached to Bootstrap at the moment. And so if you give them something like our standard Plone, they don't know what the tags and things are, or how to manipulate the CSS and all that kind of thing. So if you start off with like a Bootstrap theme, then it's very easy to get someone in Surrey Hills to run up and do themes and styles and things like that on a fairly vanilla Plone.
Question?
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I did a bit of research before I came here just about Plone. Apparently, apparently it is big in the States.
Plone is really big in the States and Europe, in academic institutions and government departments. The Brazilian government runs it massively. The New Zealand government runs it quite a bit too. The CIA's got websites, NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, the FBI, you know,
Yeah.
all of these things are all running on Plone. Australia, there's almost no presence. There's a few state government sites.
It's huge.
Sydney Buses runs it, and that's about it, you know. So that's what happens in Australia.
Yeah.
In Australia, there's something called Gov CMS. I don't know if anyone's looked at that yet. Do you know what that is? Right, so Gov CMS is like the government pulling resources together for CMS, and what they've done is they've got Acquia involved, and it's all going to be Drupal, and so they're looking for Drupal partners, you know, whatever. Fantastic. Yeah, so that's what happens, and this is one of the things I'm going to stress to you, what the difference between an enterprise content management system is and like maybe a CMS or a blogging platform. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I just, I did a bit of research, and I looked at, there was a timeline, a circular timeline, I'm not sure if you're going to show that tonight, about how Plone's come about. And there was a huge thing on that that said now PHP free, and it's all gone to, I think it's Python.
No, it's never PHP.
Yeah, I was just...
So Plone came out of Zope Corporation. So Plone runs on Zope. I'll show you some more of that later. So Zope came out of a company called Digicol out of about 1997, 1998. was the original Bobo platform, which is all the Zope object database and all those sorts of things, which I'll show you in a little bit. And so Plone came out of that in about year 2001. So it sits on top of the Zope applications framework and is a CMS written on top of it. So it's always been Python, and it's been around since about 2001. A couple of the founders, one of them, Alexander Limmy, is one of the head guys in UI design at Mozilla. He's been there for the last 4 or 5 years. There's a couple of other guys running this company called Mfold, which is quite big in the States and whatever. Yeah, it's been around for a very, very long time. Most people in the Python community have heard about it, and either they'll weep and run away, or they still quite like it. The Zope, of course, seems to be a little bit misunderstood in the Python community as well. So a lot of people were really into them in the early 2000s, but they sort of felt that it got a little bit complicated and complex and sort of left. But Zope is still pretty much the leading sort of thought force behind a lot of Python things and Python initiatives. So there's things like the whole Zope component architecture, interfaces, and those kinds of things are creeping into other projects and programs. So, for example, the interfaces is actually in the OpenStack Python. OpenStack is another huge Python application suite, which again is one of the reasons I do a lot of that sort of thing. So some of these pages are going to have to load up, and so computationally expensive. So Plone itself and getting Plone, as I say, there's about 500 or 600 Python packages in the Plone application suite. So they've got their own build-out system to do this. It's called build-out. It's fairly exclusive to Plone, but it is gaining traction in like the Django land and like whatever as well. There's a bunch of other web frameworks in Python that all use Zope and Plone-based technologies. So there's Pyramid, some elements of Pylons, parts of Django, and all those kinds of things are using similar and associated technologies. Plone isn't actually a lap stack product, so Plone is based on Zope, and it's got its own Zope object publishing environment, which is an object-based environment. It's always been object, no SQL. It's been NoSQL since like 1998. And so the way that all that NoSQL database stuff works is that it's a little bit like the Java streaming technology. So everything gets streamed as a Python pickle back to a database infrastructure. A lot of the NoSQL databases are trying to act and do very similar sorts of things there now. So the Mongos and like whatever are trying to emulate that kind of thing as well. ZOD has been around for a very long time, and it's got some really awesome sorts of technologies of being able to create mount points and things like that in the same kind of way you might create a LUN in a more traditional style environment, all kinds of interesting things. So part of the things that I do on my Bash and Linux platform is that all of my Plone stacks RPM packaged, and so it's just like a yum install, just the RPM, and all those 1,000 dependencies all get deployed and downloaded and managed. The build-out environments use something called a know and good set, which is basically going through all of the Python packages needed and pinning the versions that they know works. A little bit similar to Golang and all of those kinds of environments, which will go and stick a commit tag from a Git and think that that's progress.
So can you tell?
Node does a similar thing as well, and you know, and again, the way that you're specifying packages or whatever, and Ruby or whatever too, you're putting the, you're nailing down, pinning the versions and the spec files for Ruby and whatever in a similar way.
Can you tell me why it's taking so long to load these pages? What's it doing in the background?
A couple of these are doing some quite interestingly hard things. Yeah. So this. Didn't actually, when I rebooted this, it didn't even bother to save all the latest state on the Firefox. So there is actually quite a bit going on with this server at the moment as well. Half of the memory is being sucked up by this thing running here. So on Plone itself, when it comes to actually the whole content style environment, if you actually log in, you guys didn't get to see that on the robot framework, I guess I better just quickly show you what the whole content thing's about. So this is the Zope application server, and as I say, it's a NoSQL database. So when you go and step through things, it is absolutely NoSQL. It's a complete hierarchical database. So you can step through things here. So we can actually step through and see what the database might look like. There's like 1.2 gigs worth of stuff in this particular database. You can see there's some activity and stuff happening. Whatever cache parameters, managed to cache so many objects or whatever. So now Zope, we've got a whole bunch of clones and things here. So this one here, whatever that is, it's a clone 4.3. So we step through this just like a file system, and then we can come through and actually see the view on it. So now we've gone from the Zope management interface to the cool skinned Plone thing. So in this one here, we've actually got the Plone toolbar, which is kind of another take on Bootstrap style of systems. So I'm logged in as admin, I can do stuff. So now I can actually go and say, for example, edit this content page. And so that goes and brings up a tiny MCE editor, and I can go away and do all kinds of edity bits and pieces within that. Again, this is an enterprise content management environment. So for example, that means that we actually adhere to something called Dublin Core. So Dublin Core is all the metadata components you expect in an enterprise environment. So within that, we've got things like, you know, who are the creators, what kind of copyrights and things might be attendant on a particular document. We have things like dates, publication dates, with expiry dates on content, all kinds of stuff. So these are kind of very enterprise in the content space, sorts of parameters and things that we expect on all kinds of content. And again, because we're in an enterprise environment, when it comes to things like access control and users and all of those kinds of things, then we have a whole bunch of other things that you guys can't see. So we've got a whole playable infrastructure around authentication, so it's very, very easy for us to go and talk to a SAML server, or to Active Directory, or to LDAP, or all kinds of trust mechanisms or whatever. I've just been putting some X509 PKI into some of my Red Hat style of infrastructures, and it's very easy to go and do like a whole certificate infrastructure, be able to suck the appropriate details out for authentication, and then use the Plone role-based access control model to actually go and put everything into a Plone style of environment. Again, it's very, very granular with the role-based access control. Do something. So we have things within our security, we have a whole bunch of permissions that can then be assigned to roles. and all of that kind of thing. Can't see the check boxes. And this is all very, very granular as well. So as you step through the contents of each of these kinds of things, you can assign the same kinds of roles and things as you go down into the hierarchies and all of that kind of thing. Again, you've got all of the same security choices all the way up and down your stack. One of the reasons that Plone is so complicated and why people aren't necessarily so interested in it is because it is exactly these kinds of things. So when we actually come to look at a Plone style of environment, we have all of these kinds of things available to us. So we're talking about cataloging. We're talking about various different content types. We're talking about registries. We're talking about the extensible plugin infrastructure to install other Plone bits and pieces. We're talking about, say, unique ID generators, so that every piece of content has a unique ID. We're talking about all kinds of things like purging of artifacts, of content items. We're talking about vocabularies, we're talking about change control and all kinds of things. We're talking about members and membership, talking about other kinds of metadata we want to attach to content. Talking about whether or not content can have discussion items put on it and how we control them. We're talking about things like maybe putting capture systems in for forms with users and access and all of those kinds of things. So this is how we control all of these things, like through the web. This is kind of the brutal through the web way to actually go and configure something within Plone. So there's a nice way as well. But the final source of truth is always what's in the ZOAP. So they don't actually visualize everything within a Plone environment, but all the common things have usually been quite nicely skinned for more neophyte or business user kinds of things going on. So as a business user, you can go and control users and groups and as such here, for example. Again, you can't see very much. There's a whole add-on infrastructure which allows you to basically take Plone-orientated Python modules and install them into your Plone environment and get more functionality. And that's again how a lot of the skins and skinning comes in. So, for example, this is all the possible things that can be installed into this Plone site. And here's all the things that actually are. So here's an actual, can't see, can you? So here's actually a theme based here. And so if you want to get a different theme, you can go and create your own theme style of thing and plug it in. Normally what you'll do is you'll rip off one that someone else has done, so that's like that Bootstrap style of theme. I'll start with Bootstrap, then I'll add my own theme on top of it, that kind of thing. Now, this is what's happening with a piece of Plone content as well. So we have all the things that can be actually done on it. So this content item can be displayed in a variety of different ways. In a folder we can add new kinds of content. So out of the box, Plone allows you to talk about collections, events, files, folders, all of those kinds of things, links, news items, the various things. They'll go through like a workflow style of process as well. Let's see the workflow item. So every workflow item is content bound. So most of the Plone-based ones are all about publication style of workflows, whether or not something's private or public or in draft or whatever. But you can create a workflow against absolutely anything. So for example, different kinds of workflows have different kinds of things. So I actually use this Plone-based system to build all my RPM packages. And so what you're about to not see here is building Plone in Plone. So down here is the Plone source RPM package. And that has a completely different workflow to a publication workflow. It's talking about whether or not a package is built, or whether or not you want to compile it, or sync it with another server, or things like that. It's got nothing to do with actual content. I have something very similar here as well. I have a full general ledger system. So for example, an account, you want to be able to have it open or close, or an invoice, you want to have it completed or invoiced or reversed or cancelled or things like that. And so all of those things are easily accomplished with a workflow. And again, like the whole Plone environment, the way that it works is that all of these things are put through a standard kind of layer, which then makes it easy to tweak. So that the style of this bootstrap with its workflow can easily be changed to another system like this one here that has its workflow in a completely different place. Stuff you probably can't see. So this is actually a Xenos application monitoring environment. So Xenos is also written in on top of the Zope application server framework. Xenos doesn't do anything with Plone. That uses the XJS Java libraries and things on top of it. So we've got Zope that can do all the things you see in Plone, and then we've got this style of thing here that you can actually use on top of Zope that Xenos has actually used. So this here is actually the Xenos local host, and Xenos being a Zope style of server, we can monitor it in exactly the same way that we monitor all of our Plone style of assets. So unfortunately I only started this one up this afternoon, and there's only a tiny little bit of activity, and that's just to the right of the stuff that you guys can't see on the RRD graphs. Yeah? But we actually have Zope specific things going on here. So we've got like that Zope cache, what objects are actually in the cache on the Zope ZODB data store. We can show things like the Zope ZODB activity. We've got the whole Zope memory kind of footprint and stuff, which is further down the form that I can't scroll to show you. And so we've got all of these things all available within our style of environments as well. this is actually the Xenos server running. You can see it's got a Zope process running, so that's all the web UI that you're seeing there. It has a whole bunch of other backgrounds and whatever. You can't see some of this, but Xenos is a pretty sophisticated style of environment, and it's actually running up MySQL database for all of the Xenos events. So if you went to the event console, this is all talking to a MySQL database here. Zope as well with the Z object publishing environment. What I was showing you earlier was running in its actual object database, which is called cia, the Zope Enterprise Objects. But there's another couple of ports of that. So there's something called rel storage, which is a relational storage version of that. And so what that does is takes all the Python pickles it used to save and put into Zio, just saves them as blobs in a relational database. And so what we actually see in the Xenos is that we're actually using the MySQL database to store and do absolutely everything that we had in Zope, but in MySQL. And so within that, that environment supports both Postgres and MySQL and Oracle. And so this is the same kind of Zope style environment that you saw earlier with the Zope management interface. So this is all just getting served straight out of MySQL, whereas the previous one was getting served out of the Zope cia. And as I say, I've got thousands of what have we got on this channel. There's actually 80 times 16, whatever that is, about 3,500 Plone-based packages and extensions, and the commercial aspects of the Plone ecosystem. When we see these sorts of applications here, so I've got essentially, this is like Red Hat's Koji, satellite servers, all of those kinds of things. I've got actually backported into a Plone style environment here. And there's a range of reasons to do that. Firstly being Python, that made it very, very easy. The way we do Python style development, so you can just go and pick up and share Red Hat libraries, wrap them a little bit, throw them into the Plone style of environments, and away you go. You actually wanted to go and have a look, Plone uses something called TAL, which is Zope's templated attribute library. And so this is the markup language used within Zope and Plone. So if you're familiar with ERG or some of the PHP style environments or whatever, this is the Zope style of version. So this is some HTML generation code for Plone. Cursor. And so we can see we've got head tags and bodies and like divs and various other things going on here. We have some global objects that are available, whatever. You can call direct Python requests and things through the style environment. But you've got like a whole range of things like iterators to repeat and all this kind of thing to generate table layouts and all kinds of things. But one of the important things about the design of the whole TAL environment is that this is still well-formed XHTML. There's no, open bracket percentage equals, or the JSP style of things, or a lot of the earlier PHP sorts of things where you've got various tags for if statements and all kinds of things within there that aren't actually well-formed HTML. And the whole reason for this sort of thing, you can actually go and point like a Dreamweaver style of editor at this and actually be editing things and be doing interesting well-formed stuff.
Just a question. with, if you edit that, you said it will generate it, can you still, so if you edit it, will it go?
Yeah, well this is actually on the
workflow?
file system, so
Yeah.
this is actually defined in a package.
Sure.
Yeah, so your source code control it and you release it in a structured kind of way. This is the cool thing about these skins as such, because you can say, for example, I don't know, I don't like this, I'd like to put a different class or do something entirely differently. So then what you can do is you can hit the customize button and that will take it from the file system, save it into the Zope object database, and you can now edit this.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what
So
about
that's
like,
used all of the time. So like for example, on like, I don't know, Plone images.
yeah. How does it handle, if you need partials, is that easy to, or not?
Yeah. So like this is the standard Plone logo.
Yeah.
So if you're going to customize a site, you're like, oh, I want to put my own logo in. So you can just hit that customize button and you can upload logo A, B, or C, whatever. And then when that site gets viewed, your logo will be there instead of the Plone one. Well, it's that kind of thing. It's pretty easy to do through the web. In terms of large scale things though, we always try to steer clear of those kinds of things. We'd actually properly package them into a module, and then that can be mass deployed and all kinds of things. And when it's a module like that, it then actually appears properly as, it then appears proper so that you can import it. So then will appear as an add-on here, for example. So that way if you've got 5 different Plone sites on the one Plone server, you can elect what assets to put into each one of them. It's not as if you have to then be global and everything gets sub-sited or whatever.
Does Plone have a version control system for any content that
It does. That's one of the things that separates it from like a blog or those kinds of things.
process?
Yeah, so when you actually save content, you can put a commit message and all kinds of things in it. I've actually used it quite extensively in some of my project and program management things there. You can like upload an MS project and then we like use the versioning of it so you can see bell waves and things like that as tasks deteriorate over time and all kinds of things. So there's lots of really cool things that you can do with these kinds of things outside of a strict content management environment. And that's again like even with all of these kinds of things here. So with all these individual content things there about like RPM packages, for example, well, when you save an RPM package, it's actually quite nice that you say that the descriptions and things like that here can actually go into the cataloging of your Plone system, so that then on the bit you can't see, if I go and do a site search of something, I can put an RPM name or this or that, and it can just do a generalized text-based search and go and grab all that kind of thing out. So these kinds of enterprise content management environments make really awesome environments for any kind of application or application development.
Is it kind of, would you describe it as Web 1.0, or is it like,
No,
can it still be
it's-
can it still be used for modern like browser client side?
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, like you can set up the
So like here's like the cataloging system. So this site's only got a few pages in it as such. You can see like here's the kind of metadata that we'll keep in a catalog. And then you've got all of these very specialized kinds of indexes and the such. So I haven't really tweaked this one. It's just got a ZC text index, but you can do things like it's got OKPI and all kinds of stuff. You have various different kinds of lexers and things like that available. And so these are all the kinds of things that will actually go and split and normalize words and do all kinds of interesting things. This one here doesn't actually have my favorite text index NZ, which uses Levenstein as a lexer for getting to the base roots of all kinds of words and stuff like that. So what you've actually got going on here is you've got a really, really sophisticated environment for doing all kinds of things. Yeah, so if you say, for example, you had Oracle in your site, where you're only getting to choose the kinds of indexing that Oracle allows you, that they've actually done in their background and offices and all those kinds of things. Whereas here we've got community members going and creating and contributing interesting kinds of indexes for, for all kinds of things. I do quite a bit of financials, so like I've got a currency index, for example, and all kinds of things, stuff with that sort of thing. So it's not too difficult to go and write those things and have them all bound and extensible within these kinds of environments. And again, with it being so focused around content and all of that, there's loads of other very sophisticated tools for how you're doing indexing and index joins, and all kinds of interesting things. So there's a massively rich ecosystem that's the sort of thing you're very, very specialised in doing, then everything's there available for you as a massive toolbox to actually go and play, contribute, and get the kind of result that you want out of it. Whereas like you're not going to get that in a Drupal style of environment. And one of the main reasons that you're not is because the PHP sort of language doesn't really do the system programming. So loads of really cool C libraries and things like that that are available in other kinds of domains and contexts, they're not visible to you. Whereas this is all just Python, so it makes it really, really easy. I mean, Python's got a massive footprint in pretty much every domain that you can think of. And so therefore it's very easy to bring in and incorporate those libraries into these Plone style of systems. And so yeah, we have all of that kind of stuff. There's loads of things around like all the geo things, so you can just bring in leaflet.js libraries and connect to PostGIS servers and all kinds of things. Or with the Zope database, it's pretty easy to be storing data points or whatever there. It's got accesses to all kinds of things, so you can just directly connect to remote MongoDBs and just all kinds of things. So it's very easy to mix and match and play with the technologies. Probably can't see too much of this, but you can actually just go within the Plone environment, because it's all Python, you can actually be writing normal structured Python to go about things. So in this particular script here, we're actually looking at like this inventory item and we're going to do something to it. Can't quite see what. So we go context.ledger.inventory. If I go in here, I can go context.ledger.inventory and go, oh, there it is. So there's this whole one-to-one comparison of absolutely everything everywhere. Yeah, like we're not sort of doing things like having to specify a routes table or something like that in Django or in your meta-inf in your JSP style of environments. What's happening is that this is a complete hierarchical database, and what you see is what you get all the way through. Again, stuff you can't see, but we've got a whole lot of multimedia framework and things here, so I was just going to like show you a couple of widgets that we can do there with like whole little YouTube style of environments that are immediately available to be incorporated, either with saving the content locally in your own Plone environment or redirects it to the YouTubes and all kinds of things. And all of those just get added and modified and edited the same way that we do with everything else in these Plone environments. I can't even undersize that screen for you. But yeah, it's doing all the exact same stuff, so you just go and edit your little video content just the same way that you edit a page or add a file. The same kinds of things are available for it. Being content, it's probably got the same sort of workflow. Either it's private, it's in draft, or it's published for for the world to see. All of those kinds of things. We have a whole lot of other things like staging environments or whatever too. So if you've got like a whole publication workflow with editors and stuff all working on a system here, then that can all be gated and pushed to another completely separate environment within on Plone or whatever. So it doesn't all have to be done on the local one server environment. All kinds of scaled out clustering. We can do that with our MySQL PostgreSQL databases. Sell something called Zone Replication Server, which allows the ZO environment to be pushed out and all kinds of things. Within the actual configuration of your Zope style of environments, there's all kinds of parameters and things as well, so you can specify all the numbers of threads and things that are running on a particular environment. Most of the things that we do are all chef-based, so we do large-scale deployments, so we set up the Apaches and the Squids and all those kinds of things in front of all these environments with cache servers, each side includes all kinds of stuff. It is actually quite complicated in terms of being able to scale out any kind of environment as a portal that requires or has logins. It's very easy to cache anonymous content, but to cache content that's been specifically dedicated to a particular user has requirements. So again, it's difficult to see on these things here, but that my preferences, my this, my that, all of those kinds of things can't be cached because they're unique. Again, like whenever you're specifying new content, so it's quite easy to say cache an article. It's not so easy to cache an account that's got transactions that are being updated by the second. So there's all of those kinds of things as well. And there's sophisticated environments have been Plone to be able to manage and monitor your cache headers and all kinds of things, what's cacheable, what's not, all of that kind of stuff. So I could continue to show you guys more and more and more. Does anyone have anything in particular they'd like to see or ask, or itches that they're wondering about web solutions for?
I have a question. So you mentioned websites like CIA use Plone. Why do you think they choose Plone over something else? What's your opinion?
Well, because they're not limited onto things like Microsoft SharePoint. Whereas in Australia, we've got companies that will spend $500,000 on a SharePoint installation. It seems baffling that you could possibly spend that much money on something vanilla out of the box. But that's what happens in Australia. Whereas in Europe, academic institutions don't have that kind of money. Even corporates look around and shop and are thinking about a bargain. Whereas in Australia, everyone's just looking at brand envy about, what's my competitor doing? Oh, they've got SAP, I should have it. Oh, they've got, SharePoint, we should have it. So we're still seeing things in Australia. SharePoint's getting bigger and, eating into these kinds of margins. And you can think of 10 different open source content management systems that have got the same functionality or more. And Australian business, you can't really picture. We've got Documentum, that's the kind of thing we're up against. Trim systems and loads of councils and things like that. So those are the kinds of competitors, which is a crapulous Microsoft thing that's had no love for a decade, but that's what's in councils and all of those kinds of things. So nobody's shopping around or looking. We're seeing more commercially things like Atlassian's Confluence, which is again a reasonably unsophisticated product, but it's getting a lot of traction and whatever. So people aren't looking around for these enterprise systems. And a lot of it is to do with the younger generation of application developers, like everything's a soundbite, everything has to be ingestible in 5 seconds, or whatever, in order to implement something or whatever. So it's like, okay, if I can install the VMware image, or wow, it runs up in Vagrant, I'm now the administrator expert. Nobody wants to sit and spend the time to see what's involved with, with all of these backgrounds and things like that. How do I set up access controls? What's versioning? How do I set that up? All of those kinds of things. No, people don't want to look at that anymore. We're seeing it everywhere. So like the DevOps space, like Puppet and Chef, I've got a whole Chef practice. Those are the sorts of environments that you have to use in an enterprise. people go, oh, Ansible, because I can understand if you SSH on the boxes to configure them, I can't take a step back and understand a little bit more. And so it's the same with all these web technologies. People go, oh, I can understand WordPress because I just have to change a few CSS bits and like whatever. But within a week, they're going, now I want to do this thing, how do I do that? Or how do I do the next bit? And it's very easy to outgrow those kinds of systems, almost trivially easy to outgrow them. That's what happens with people's investment in technologies and choice. Instead of going, well, why don't I get something that I'm going to grow into and it will have more functionality than I could ever use? You know, people don't seem to want to do that today.
I have two questions. The first one would be, it sounds like there's a lot to it. What would you say is the main advantage from Plone to SharePoint? Like
Functionality and price. You know, there's a massive community. It's that thing, do I want to spend all of my money on subscriptions and licensing, or would I like to pay some members of staff and in-house it and have full control? You know, it's not too difficult to do. When you're, say, talking $500,000, well, that's, you know, headcount of two, three full-time equivalents. But it's Australia, well, let's outsource. Now, you're not going to find a SharePoint expert. You know, you're going to have a SharePoint expert, but anyone can get and read up on these things. Everything's available on the web. You know, there's hundreds of YouTube videos, there's conferences, you know, there's lots of companies elsewhere in the world in Plone. Here in Australia there's about 3. And, I'm not really sure that anyone's managing to do it full time here in Australia. It's a known product and a known brand. But also there's some minor weaknesses as well. In the Plone, for example, is a foundation product, so there's the Plone Foundation. It doesn't have a company behind it. So when it comes to, say, a government, they would much rather do Gov CMS with Acquia behind it because there's a company, there's someone that we can litigate, whatever. But it's something that's genuinely a community project and that's got a full US foundation behind it, doesn't have the same commercial appeal as having a company. You know, like similarly, because it's a foundation, it doesn't have a consulting division. So we'd actually have to go to third parties to consult. Oh, that's really difficult. If we just had like a single point of contact company, that's fantastic. Even if they subcontract, sounds just like Accenture, we understand that. You know, that's a model we can comprehend. So, oh, it's a genuine community thing with a foundation. You know, that foundation is there to guarantee the rights of all of the consumers to the product. Yeah, no one can stop you using Plone ever because all of the rights of the assets accrue to the foundation, and you know that's in the foundation charter. Now, isn't that a better deal than a corporate that might go bust next year or get bought by Oracle or whatever? So those are the things that the open community has always been up against when it comes to bringing a product to market.
I agree with you that a lot of companies today are looking for a quick and easy fix. Like they just want something that they can start on. So it's going from very basic ideas and upwards it gets difficult. And I know that Plone looked at everything on a top view and said, well, what will everyone need 20 years from now?
No, it didn't do that. It's just like evolved like that. It's a really, really rich toolkit out of the box. That's one of the issues, right? Most people don't want 90% of the toolkit at the moment. Eventually they might want quite a lot more than they're initially consuming, but there's quite a curve to get comfortable with just the initial bites that you were thinking about.
Yeah, my question was, are you fearing that Plone, what I'm seeing is it's very modular. I like the fact that it's you can pick and choose what you want. Everything's pre-done for you. Are you worried things like WordPress and Laravel and existing frameworks that are very, very UI friendly, very basic, very community? No, you're not worried that?
No, they're completely different space. So like Plone's talking like the documentums and the SharePoints and the large scale environments where you've got thousands of users. You immediately bring on by pointing an AD at them and going, oh look, you're now a member of the site, you can add content, or binding a role to this, so you're now an editor, you get to approve the content of the minions in your department or whatever. That's all just kind of straight out of the box functionality and why you'd look at bringing an enterprise system into your enterprise. Yeah. So a simple blog platform, probably go, why don't we just completely SaaS that and we wouldn't bring anything in-house?
What would you say is the biggest user of Plone in terms of functionality? What kind of company or organization uses Plone extensively together with a lot of the plugins?
Yeah, I can't say off the top of my head, but if we're talking academic institutions, I know most will be using it for the content and the articles and things like that. And there's a lot of things that you'll find loads of plugins about faculties and faculty management. You know, there's like a whole taxonomy around oncology, and a lot of the medical departments and things like that are using these kinds of things. So that's where it comes in. A lot of the development has been done by European universities who've got a need for a very specialised search environment or whatever. They'll write it and donate it to community or use community pieces and all of those kinds of things. So that's where one of its real strengths are, when you've got internal developers, or they can all collaborate essentially globally, because no one's competing like an academic level. Each academic institution has got its own research program that needs this stuff, so they can all collaborate or whatever.
So where does the foundation get its money from? Or?
So the foundation was set up by, of all people, our computer associates gave him the money to actually set up. Was it 401 or something? Foundation in the United States, about 2003. They're an ArcSight product. I remember that from years and years ago. It was kind of a storage solution. It was actually based on Plone, and so yeah, they provide the money to set up the initial foundation. This time about 2003, 2004, something like that.
And now these days, where?
Well, it's still community. I'm not quite sure where the funding's coming from at the moment. It's always difficult to say with open projects. We just saw a couple of months ago that poor old Werner Koch almost went bankrupt with GPG, the whole GNU Privacy Guard application suite. So it's very difficult for everyone in open source to understand.
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering
how to monetize anything.
Because even if you're a foundation, in the end, there's always expenses, right? You might lean on the community for all kind of development.
But there are a lot of benefactors, like certain academic institutions will all throw a couple of $1,000s here, a couple of $1,000 there. You're not going to find like Keystone benefactors that are throwing hundreds of thousands of dollars, or Mark Shuttleworth coming out of woodwork to fund a Plone environment.
So you spoke earlier about consultancies supporting it for corporate environment. Are there any consultancies that specialize in it? And
oh yeah, there's loads in Europe and the States.
Yeah. Do you have them here as well? Or?
Well, there's about 3 consultancies in the whole of Australia. They all struggle around this, and I think, well, actually only one in Sydney, PretaWeb. I think they might have just shut things down. Colleagues of mine, so Dylan's bombed off to Thailand.
What do you work for?
So this is my company here, Last Bastion Network. So I do DevOps. I haven't sold a Plone thing for, I don't know, 5 or 7 years. I use it for my own internal infrastructure. I'm not here pitching any of this stuff to you. It's kind of fascinating to me, going, well, this is an enterprise thing. Here's my enterprise application to just poison in Australia. So that's more the sort of takeaways that you can bring to that.
I can imagine it's difficult to sell here.
Yeah, so like this is like my main Linux brand, so I have all this stuff served up by Plone. This is kind of enterprise Linux, so Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And within that, I'm selling the Xenoses and the Shaps and all of those kinds of things.
Okay, more the underlying technologies.
Yeah, so one-click deploy of your Xenos, that's the kind of environment and place that I'm in. But again, like most of it turns out to just be consulting, because nobody wants to pay a license for anything, from you or the vendor or whatever, But that's not just an issue with our kind of operations. If you go talk to the Red Hat guys, they talk to you about how much money they're making out of their telco customers, what a whole lot of cheapskates and whatever they are, and how little licenses they pay for compared to the actual kit they've got the things running on, and all kinds of things. So it's very, very difficult in all kinds of communities to ensure that your constituency is actually paying what it's consuming.